You tell yourself you're lazy. You tell yourself you have no discipline, no willpower, no drive. But what if I told you that's completely wrong? What if the real reason you can't focus, can't sit still, can't finish anything you start, has nothing to do with your character and everything to do with the fact that your brain has been quietly rewired one scroll at a time by an industry that profits every single second you stay distracted? You are not lazy. You are addicted. And over the next hour, we're going to take this apart completely. The neuroscience, the ancient philosophy that predicted it 2,000 years early, and the exact practical system for rebuilding a mind that modern technology broke without your permission. Let's start with the truth about what's actually happening inside your brain right now, in this exact moment as you watch this video. Every notification, every short video, every like, every message triggers a small release of dopamine, the chemical responsible for anticipation and reward. This isn't a metaphor. This is measurable neuroscience. Your brain has been trained through thousands of repetitions a day to expect a hit of stimulation every few seconds. And here's the brutal part. This training doesn't stay contained to your phone. It rewires your baseline expectation for stimulation in everything you do. Studying feels unbearably slow now. A conversation without your phone nearby feels agitating. Sitting with a single thought for more than 30 seconds feels almost physically uncomfortable. This isn't weak character. This is a trained nervous system responding exactly the way it was engineered to respond. Marcus Aurelius never had a smartphone, but he understood the exact mechanism behind this 2,000 years before Silicon Valley built an industry out of it. He wrote about the danger of a mind constantly pulled outward, scattered across 1,000 small distractions, never settling long enough to think clearly about anything that actually mattered. He called this the tyranny of external impressions, allowing your attention to be hijacked moment to moment by whatever demands it loudest, instead of directing your attention deliberately toward what you actually value. Sound familiar? He was describing almost perfectly the exact battle you fight every time you pick up your phone intending to check one notification and resurface 45 minutes later, having accomplished nothing you meant to do. Let's go deeper into the actual mechanics of dopamine, because understanding the biology transforms this from an abstract philosophical idea into something you can actually observe happening in your own body. Dopamine is often misunderstood as a pleasure chemical, but it's more accurately described as an anticipation chemical. It spikes not when you receive a reward, but in the moments leading up to an uncertain reward. This is precisely why infinite scroll is so effective. You never know if the next video will be the incredible one, so your brain keeps releasing small anticipatory hits with every swipe, keeping you locked in a loop that feels compulsive rather than chosen. Slot machines were engineered using this exact same principle decades before smartphones existed. Random, unpredictable rewards create far stronger compulsive behavior than predictable ones. When notifications arrive at unpredictable intervals, when your feed refreshes with unpredictable content, when likes accumulate unpredictably after you post, your brain is being run through the same psychological machinery casinos have used for generations, except now it's in your pocket, active 16 hours a day. Here's where the Stoic fix actually begins, and it starts with a concept called negative visualization, combined with a very practical understanding of what the Stoics called assent. Epictetus taught that between any stimulus and your reaction to it, there exists a gap, a space where you have the power to choose whether to engage or not. Most people believe their phone picks itself up automatically, that scrolling is something that just happens to them. It isn't. Every single time you reach for your phone, there was a half-second window where a choice was made, even if it happened so fast you didn't consciously notice it. The entire Stoic practice of self-mastery begins with slowing down that half-second window until you can actually see the choice being made, instead of sleepwalking through it 100 times a day. Let's talk about why this matters so much more for your generation than any generation before it. You didn't choose to grow up inside the most sophisticated attention-capturing technology ever built. Teams of behavioral psychologists, the same techniques used in casinos' slot machine design, were deliberately applied to the apps you use every day. Infinite scroll with no natural stopping point, variable reward schedules where you never know if the next post will be boring or fascinating, notifications engineered with specific colors and sounds proven to trigger checking behavior. This is not a fair fight between your willpower and a passive app. This is a fight between your willpower and some of the most well-funded behavioral engineering in human history. Understanding this isn't an excuse to give up. It's the exact information you need to actually win, because you stop blaming your character and start addressing the real mechanism. Let's talk about tolerance, because this is a piece almost nobody explains properly. The same way a person builds tolerance to a substance over time, requiring more of it to achieve the same effect, your nervous system builds tolerance to stimulation. The dopamine hit you got from your phone a year ago is not the same size hit you're getting today from the same amount of scrolling. Your brain has adapted, requiring more novelty, more content, more stimulation to produce the same sense of engagement. This is precisely why a book, a slow conversation, or a quiet walk without your phone can start to feel almost unbearably boring compared to how those same activities felt years earlier. It's not that these activities changed, it's that your baseline for what counts as interesting enough has been dragged upward by constant exposure to maximally engineered stimulation. The good news buried inside this uncomfortable truth is that tolerance can also be reversed. The same plasticity that allowed your brain to adapt toward craving constant stimulation is the same plasticity that allows it to adapt back toward tolerating and eventually enjoying slower, quieter forms of engagement. Now let's bring in the Stoic fix in full, practical detail. The first principle is creating friction deliberately. Seneca taught extensively about controlling your environment because he understood that willpower is a limited resource, easily overwhelmed by constant temptation. If your phone is within arm's reach while you're trying to focus, you are not relying on discipline, you are relying on willpower fighting a battle it will eventually lose dozens of times a day. Put the phone in another room. Use a physical timer instead of your phone's timer. Delete the specific apps that consume the most time, even temporarily, and notice how much mental space returns almost immediately. Friction works because most compulsive phone use isn't a deliberate decision. It's an automatic reflex triggered by proximity and ease of access. Adding even 10 extra seconds of inconvenience between you and the app, a passcode, a different room, a logged-out account, is often enough to interrupt the automatic reflex long enough for actual conscious choice to reassert itself. The second principle is what the Stoics called practicing voluntary discomfort, deliberately choosing boredom on purpose in small doses, to rebuild your tolerance for a slower pace of stimulation. Sit in a room with nothing to do for 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no distraction. This will feel almost unbearable at first if your baseline has been trained by constant stimulation. That discomfort is the exact signal that this practice is working. Just like a muscle that's been unused, your capacity for sustained, unstimulated attention has atrophied. And just like a muscle, it can be rebuilt slowly through repeated, deliberate practice. The third principle is redirecting your relationship with boredom itself. Modern culture treats boredom as a problem to be eliminated instantly, at all costs. But the Stoics understood boredom as valuable, even necessary. It's often the exact space where clarity, creativity, and genuine thought are born. Some of history's most important ideas emerged from long, uninterrupted stretches of unstimulated thinking. When you eliminate boredom completely by filling every spare second with stimulation, you also eliminate the conditions required for deep thought to ever occur. Learning to sit inside boredom without immediately escaping it is not punishment. It's the doorway back to a mind capable of actual depth. The fourth principle is scheduling stimulation instead of allowing it to be constant and unpredictable. Instead of checking your phone the instant a notification arrives, designate specific windows, perhaps 3 times a day, where you check messages and notifications deliberately, fully, and then close the app completely until the next scheduled window. This single shift retrains your nervous system to stop expecting constant interruption, and over time, the compulsive urge to check just in case fades significantly because your brain learns there's a reliable, predictable time coming when it will get that information anyway. Let's talk about a fifth principle that connects directly back to ancient Stoic practice, the deliberate use of single tasking as a form of mental training. Multitasking, something modern life constantly demands and modern technology constantly encourages, has been shown repeatedly to fragment attention in ways that make sustained focus significantly harder to access even when you want it. Every time you switch between tasks, checking a message while working, glancing at a video while eating, listening to a podcast while scrolling a different app, you are training your brain toward fragmentation as the default state. The Stoic practice of single-pointed attention, sitting with exactly one task, one thought, one conversation without splitting your focus, is a direct counter-training exercise. It feels unnatural at first, precisely because fragmented attention has become your trained default. Like any form of training, single tasking becomes easier and eventually more natural the more consistently it's practiced. Now, let's address something important. This isn't about eliminating technology completely or living like an ancient Roman with no modern conveniences. The Stoics were never anti-tool. They were pro-intentionality. The goal isn't to throw away your phone forever. The goal is to become the one directing its use, rather than the one being directed by it. There's an enormous difference between choosing to spend an hour watching something you specifically wanted to watch, fully present and engaged, versus losing an hour to autoplay content you never consciously chose to keep watching. The first is a deliberate choice within your control. The second is exactly the tyranny of external impressions Marcus Aurelius warned about. Your attention being pulled along by whatever the algorithm decided to serve you next, without your conscious participation in the decision at all. Let's walk through what a full day actually looks like when these principles are applied together, because abstract principles are far easier to understand with a concrete picture. Morning begins with the phone physically outside the bedroom, forcing a physical walk to retrieve it rather than immediate access the second you wake up. This single change alone prevents the very first dopamine hit of the day from setting a reactive, distracted tone before you've even had a chance to think clearly. The first hour of the day is spent with no notifications at all, dedicated instead to a single task chosen the night before. Notification checking happens at 3 scheduled points, perhaps midday, late afternoon, and early evening, with the phone otherwise kept in another room or in a drawer during focused work. Throughout the day, small pockets of deliberate boredom are practiced. A walk without headphones, a meal without a screen, a wait in line without reaching for the phone, automatically. None of this requires extraordinary willpower once the environment has been engineered to support it, because remember, the entire point of the friction principle is removing the need for constant willpower battles in the first place. Here's a piece of encouraging evidence worth sharing. The brain's plasticity means this rewiring process, while uncomfortable initially, tends to accelerate significantly after the first 2 to 3 weeks. The same way tolerance builds gradually through repeated exposure to stimulation, the reverse process, rebuilding tolerance for slower, quieter states, also builds gradually through repeated, consistent practice. Most people who commit to even a partial version of these principles report a noticeable difference in their capacity for sustained attention within roughly 3 to 4 weeks. Not because willpower suddenly increased, but because the underlying neurological baseline genuinely shifted through consistent retraining. Now, here's the twist that changes how you will see this entire struggle going forward. The people who seem to have incredible focus, who finish what they start, who seem almost immune to distraction, they are not naturally wired differently than you. Almost every single one of them has, at some point, deliberately gone through the uncomfortable process of retraining a distracted, dopamine-saturated nervous system back toward sustained attention. It wasn't a personality trait they were born with. It was a rebuilt capacity, brick by brick, exactly the way you can rebuild yours starting today. Let's close with a direct roadmap. First, physically separate yourself from your phone during any period requiring focus, different room, different bag, out of sight, entirely. Second, schedule specific windows for checking notifications instead of allowing constant, unpredictable interruption throughout the day. Third, deliberately practice short periods of boredom, 5 to 10 minutes daily with zero stimulation, to begin rebuilding your tolerance for an unstimulated mind. Fourth, choose single tasking over multitasking wherever possible, treating fragmented attention as a habit to actively unlearn, rather than a fixed personality trait. Fifth, give this process a minimum of 3 weeks before evaluating whether it's working, because the discomfort in the early days is not evidence of failure. It is the exact, expected sign that genuine neurological retraining is underway. If you've ever called yourself lazy when the real problem was a hijacked nervous system, drop the word focus in the comments below, because understanding the real enemy is the first step to actually beating it. This is day 2 of our 10-day series. Subscribe so you don't miss day 3, where we go even deeper into rebuilding the mind modern life has quietly broken. Remember this: you were never lazy. You were trained, one notification at a time, to expect constant stimulation. And what was trained into you can absolutely be trained back out, starting the moment you decide the next 45 minutes belong to you, not to whatever app is fighting hardest for your attention.